Hello and welcome to a new lesson. Is language an evolutionary process? Let's talk about it. In my second lecture, I talked about is language a gift of God? This lecture is in contrast to what I talked about in the second lecture. We also call it natural evolution hypothesis. It means that everything in the world has developed, has evolved through a process, through the natural process. Nothing has happened at once. Therefore, we refer it to natural evolution hypothesis. And language is one of them. What is the first point? Let's discuss. It cannot be proven that language is as old as humans. According to scientific principles, according to evolutionary process, it's very difficult to prove that when humans were created, at the same time, language was also created. If that is the case, then a child immediately after his birth should speak, but that is not the case. So it's very difficult to prove scientifically, analytically, that language is as old as humans. Possibly humans were created, humans came into birth, but they were not able to speak. They used symbols and signs to communicate. So go to the next point. However, wherever humans exist, language exists. But language is basically the creation of human society. Wherever there are people, there must be some languages. Wherever there are humans, there must be some languages. So from this perspective, we can say language existed wherever humans existed. But again, the first question is language as old as humans? Let's continue with some more ideas in this direction. At some point in their evolutionary development, humans acquired a more sophisticated brain. Scientists say, analysts say, those who have logical thinking, they say that humans acquired a more sophisticated brain, more intelligent brain, more enhanced brain at some point in their evolutionary development. That is to say, as you know, the theory of evolution says that humans come from the ancestors of ape or monkey. So humans were not able to do everything in the way we do now. First, their physical development took the shape. They began to walk. They began to do some sorts of physical work. They developed their motor skills. And then at much later stage of their evolutionary development, the brain began to take its shape. And at one point of time, the brain became sophisticated, became more advanced, which made language invention and learning possible. So the language invention did not happen suddenly or quickly. And thereafter, this made humans think about how to communicate, how to speak. And this compulsion, this social necessity led to the invention of language and later learning possible. It's not that God, when created humans, then God sent CD of a particular language to this group of society, or God sent down a book of language for this particular society, and then in that way humans began to speak different languages. It's not like that. According to evolutionary process, God created humans, but at the same time, God did not create the language. Language is the result of evolutionary process. Language is the result of development of human society, because in any way, nothing in this world has happened suddenly. If you look at the things around you and you go to the origin of it, you find that anything in this world which is in front of us is development of a long process. Take for example, mobile, laptop, computer, so many other advanced technologies in modern time. They haven't developed at once. So from that perspective, if nothing has happened at once, then how can language can happen suddenly? That is the point here to understand. We have some more ideas to share. In other words, we can say at some point in time, humans evolved a language acquisition device, LAD. So first, physically, man developed their ability, how to walk, how to move, how to do work with their hands, how to use gestures. And in this process of evolutionary development, they evolved a language acquisition device. And that made language happen, that made learning happen. And once brain is developed, you are not only able to create language, invent language, you can invent whatever thing or idea you have in your mind. That is the point here. So according to natural evolution hypothesis. Language is not a gift from God. Language is the result of evolutionary process. It hasn't happened at once. It has taken years and years to take its shape, and still the language is changing. The language we speak at the moment will not be the same the language people will speak after 500 years. So lesson 2, which I talked about, language is a gift of God, is in sharp contrast to language as evolutionary process. Now the question is, which one of the ideas about origin of language is true? Look, it depends upon how you look at. If you believe in divine tradition, they have their own logic that if God can create humans, God can also create language. And if God cannot create language acquisition device, sophisticated brain, then how can language happen? So from that perspective, language is a gift of God, is okay to understand. And from this perspective, language as evolutionary process is also looks logical and analytical. My suggestion is that both two different shades of ideas about the origin of language are credible. But whatever you believe in, try to develop your logical idea to come to the conclusion and to argue with the people and to prove your points. My objective, my goal here is to tell you how from one point of view language is a gift of God, and how from another point of view language is the result of evolutionary process. For me, if you ask this question, I respect both the views because both have their own pros and cons. Okay, now let's review the lesson, what I have talked about so far. Review of lesson. It cannot be proven that language is as old as humans. We just talked about. However, wherever humans exist, language exists. At some point in their evolutionary development, humans acquired a more sophisticated brain which made language invention and learning possible. And the last point we talked about is, in other words, at some point in time, humans evolved a language acquisition device, what we call LAD. Now, test your knowledge. The first question is, according to evolutionary process, language is as old as humans. I think it's false. Question number 2, humans acquired a more sophisticated brain in due course of the evolutionary process. Is it true or false? Of course, it's true. And the last question is, humans evolved a language acquisition device, LAD, as they became more sophisticated. Is true or false? And of course, it's true. Hope you understand the lesson. Thank you and goodbye.